Hi guys, Renee here from Vengeance Publishing. Welcome to a Vlognarok edition of Chasing the Stars podcast. I think we're up to episode 7. It's been a few months since I did a last podcast, so please bear with me. I'm a little bit rusty. I am also trying something different today. So I am in our brick cave in the study. We call it the brick cave. And I'm having trouble recording just using the basic camera settings on my laptop. So I have actually switched over into OBS. I've got my green screen behind me, but I have not obviously activated it because I am wearing green. And so I'm going to try post-production green screen in the program I use, which is DaVinci. If not, we're just going to end up with a green background. And look, to be honest, I don't so. But yeah, today is November the 15th. We are Vlognarok. I'm surviving it. For those of you that have not been keeping up with the other videos on my channel, Vlognarok was a little idea that Charlotte Armstrong and I were sort of tossing around about vlogging. Well, she started last year with the idea of vlogging NaNoWriMo in November and then vlogging Vlogmas for Christmas and doing like a mega like vlog event on her channel for the 2 months. And we've been talking off and on about it over the last 12 months since then. And we were sort of talking about, I've got to go back to I've got to end my mat leave at the end of January. I've got projects I really want to get done. So I really want to get them finished before I go back. And we're tossing around the ideas. And then Becca C. Smith on her channel released a video about her nano vlogging, where she said she's just going to keep vlogging till she finishes her draft of her current whip, Cacao Peak. I hope I said that right. And that's where we sort of went, oh, bingo. And then also to Sage, full credit to Sage, she came up with the name Vlognarok. And yeah, it just sort of snowballed from there. But we're on day 15. I'm not vlogging every day, but I am recording something every day and then releasing the vlogs here and there, and then releasing videos and having live events as well. So doing okay, trying to get things done in between looking after 2 children. We're getting there. So usual preamble. Best socials for me is Instagram and here on YouTube. If you do want to get in touch with me though, you're probably best to actually email me at info@vengeancepublishing.com.au. that is down below, along with a few other links. And yeah, so this podcast is generally shaping up to be a little bit of like a recap for things I've been doing over the last month or 2 months, depending on time in between recording them. I think my last one of these was like August. I had to go back and rewatch it, so I knew what I had actually said and what I had shown. But yeah, so it is about 9:20. The little girl is asleep. Hubby is homesick, which is why I'm not out in the beautiful sunlight. Well, the ambient light that we have, because we've had some pretty bad weather here in Melbourne. So yeah, so I'm in the brick cave. You may hear some bashes and clang in the background. He's just watching Avengers Infinity War. So I've got a coffee. I got some gluten-free tiny teddy biscuits. I mean, Arnott's is really up in their game. Tiny teddy biscuits. They've released gluten-free choc ripple biscuits, so I can make chocolate ripple cake for Christmas this year. Ambient chewing noise. Hopefully my microphone is actually doing a decent job today. I should have Deep Purple running. After that rather rambly preamble, let's get into the meat of the episode. And let's start with publishing news. I'm still working on my low content books. I have released a couple of A5 sized ones. I call them the Marek range. I haven't done many of them. I was planning on doing a lot of them today, but hubby is homesick, as mentioned previously. So the computer that I am using for video edits and using my Affinity Publisher program is actually our media center as well. So he is currently monopolizing that and will very rarely takes a day. But I'll get some more done probably tomorrow or Wednesday. I want to get the first 3 internals of my range, which is aligned, a dot grid, and a hexagon grid. One covers 1 to 10, and just uploading 3 in each of each cover. And if people do want other versions, they can email me. I have about 35 internals for the A5, all set up, all ready to go. Just need to do it. And yeah, so it's just time with that and staring at the screen. When it comes to fiction, I am still working on the novella and the novel in my Tide of the Stars universe, which is my science fiction world. And the novella, Descent, I finished draft 4. So I got through draft 3, and I was going to work on Vendetta. And then I went, no, I'm really inspired to fix some of the problems. So I really just jumped straight back into 4, and I finished that within like a week. So I've printed it off. I just need to I need to bind it. I've got a binding machine. I need to bind it. I'm just going to pop it aside for a week or 2 whilst I do Vendetta, and then I'm going to get back to it because I've been doing something new with this draft of Vendetta. Really, it's really helping. It's really working. So I wasn't going to do it, but I am going to do that treatment to Descent and see if that actually improves it before I start. Speaking of that, Vendetta is on draft 3. And what I'm actually doing is this process that I write in a linear fashion. And what I have, but I've got the story sorted. The story is done. Like I know what needs to happen, A, B, C, D, E, right through to Z. And that's all sorted. I'm not going to change any of that. But little things like dialogue and descriptions and little actions and motions need to be line edited and cleaned up. So what I sort of randomly decided to do was take a little bit of inspiration from a book I've been reading, which I don't have here. It's in my bedroom because I finished it. Called Story Genius, where she actually recommends you do this pre-drafting. But she does cards, says do cards and flashcards and write sort of actions and scenes and things. And it doesn't have to be linear, just like, write what you want to do and put them all in a folder. And then as you slowly work the story out, you've got these elements and you know what the character's reaction is, what happens and how they feel, things like that. What I've done is I've got the story sorted, and I do know what the characters are intending and what they're thinking and how they feel about things, but it doesn't always come across perfectly. Or I've jumped in and done it a little early and I need to take it out and move it down in the story a little bit. And it's not stuff that affects the overall story, but it just affects the characterizations a little bit. So what I decided to do was just randomly grab chapters, and I asked in a live stream the other week to give me some chapter numbers, and the guys gave me chapter 8 and chapter 16, and I've done chapter 8, and it worked really well because I was what I find is when I do editing from chapter 1 through to Vendetta is chapter 36, I find that by the time I get to about chapter 25-ish, I stop focusing as hard. So by jumping from chapter to chapter, I'm hopefully going to be able to maintain that sentence by sentence focus to actually just really work on getting my point across, getting the descriptions across, and making the world feel more real. At the moment, I'm really positive about it, but we'll see. We'll see what it looks like at the end. And the one last thing with publishing is I came up with an idea after the last podcast to do like a short story compilation of book called Staying Safe. So I don't have any details on my website at the moment. I'll pop the details down below in the notes. And what I was saying to do submissions by, I think, about the 20th of December this year. What I actually think I might do is I'm actually thinking the idea I have is maybe a little bit too early for some people, because I don't want stories about how, you know, we survive. I want stories about how we coped. You know, things that we want to tell our kids when we're older. You know, how did we get through the last 18 months of the world, of a pandemic? You know, what did we do? You know, how did we cope? You know, what's your story of resilience is what I've been using as the tagline. And I think for some people, because we are still in a pandemic, I mean, it hasn't ended yet. So I think it might be a little bit early for some to write a more positive spin on their experiences. So I'm going to extend the deadline out maybe 12 months, give it another see. And if I get enough submissions in the meantime, I'll close it. If not, I might just it's a passion project. I never intended to publish under Vengeance Publishing when I created the business. It was only ever going to be my imprint for my fiction. And now I'm doing notebooks, and I'm doing my knitting patterns under Vengeance Publishing, and all with me as the author, but I'm using Vengeance Publishing as my publishing house. So it's not something that has to be done. It can just sit in the background. I'm going to get a web page set up for it on my website when I get around to getting my website updated. But yeah, so it's there. If you're interested, shoot me an email. I can, you know, if the what I've got below doesn't answer your questions about it, just shoot me a quick email and we'll chat. And yeah, so that is pretty much publishing news at the moment. The only other really thing I've sort of been doing in the past couple of months is knitting, and I've been really trying to write up my shawl, my Waiting For You shawl. I've handwritten it. It's there. I just need to type it up so I can send it to my editor, and I don't know what's I think what's stopping me is, even though I love the yarn, it's beautiful yarn, I've kind of made the decision this year to move into non-superwash treated yarns, to encourage that kind of yarn from the people I purchase from. So I have ended up amassing another large collection of non-superwash yarns in a very short amount of time. That's a rant for another day. Renee's rants. Maybe I should do that. That might work. Renee's rants. That might be a Vlognarok idea. Yeah, so I think that's my problem, is even though I really love the shawl and it's beautiful, I think my biggest problem with it is I'm trying to change my knitting pattern and actually make them use non-superwash wool. I might still write it up. Look, let me know if you're interested. I'll pop a photo up here. It's a 3-ball project. Would be good for using up stash. But I'm going to put it to the side for now. I'm just going to keep working on other projects. And I've got the same problem with the current project I am working on, which is Mark's Blanket, which is also a superwash yarn. Also Bendigo Woolen Mills. And last time I showed this to you, I was still working on the centre square. And since then I have done the first lot of patterning, and I am working on the next ball of just garter stitch. Now this is a square blanket, but I am knitting that full, so I don't have my garter because there's lots of stitches on these. And those of you that are in Australia, yes, I am very, very aware that these are the colours of a football team. I didn't think of that when I ordered them. When I ordered them, I was thinking Wiggles colour. It's okay. They're nice, they're bold, they're in your face. He loves the colours. Every time I'm knitting on it, he sits there and goes, blue, blue, red, red. So, and I've just put in a little pattern. I wanted to keep his sort of, I didn't really want to have too much in the way of lace in this one. Chevron pattern. And yeah, so I've got about that much left of this ball. That's just going to be plain garter stitch. And then I am just got another red ball, and then I have to do the edging. So hopefully next time I show you that, it will be done. And yes, it is in what is very quickly becoming my blanket project bag, which is the Hohe Calico bag you get when you buy a very expensive Hohe socks. You may notice I ain't done much more. I've really been trying to focus on getting that blanket done. But I will admit it took me a while to pick the blanket back up, because the big project that I was really focused on for ages was my jacket. And I haven't picked this up for a few weeks because I've been working on the blanket. But I got down to the bottom of the increases. I finished that ball. And I've popped it. One thing I love about light bulb stitch markers is they actually go through the hole in what have I got? I've got higher sharps. So the hole for the higher sharp pin when you're putting the needles on and locking it into place is perfect for a light bulb stitch marker, so I don't have to worry about needle stoppers. But I am on the first sleeve and counted out how many I need, and I've got my stitch markers there so I can count every 10 and just keep knitting, knitting, knitting. I'm not going to do any decreases because I like big sleeve. I don't really like deep sleeves. And yeah, so it was a real right pain in the ass to stick the yarn, and I think I know what I did wrong. I don't think I gave myself enough stitches, but that's okay. It's doable. It's just frustrating now. But I got it done. But once I get this side done, I'll do the other arm, and I will focus on getting that body done. But I think I pulled it out. Now I want to start working on it, but I've really got to get that blanket done. I want to get the blanket done first because we're going to be getting hot weather, and then I can work on this because this is relatively light. It only ends up being about a 4 ply, holding two plies double, but I do love that marble too. So yeah, so that's all my current projects. Now, one thing I forgot to grab. Also forgot to grab it. So give me a memento. I have done a rather large purchase recently from Bendigo Woolen Mills because I emailed them mid-year asking them if they'd ever considered doing their rustic range, the non-super range, as 4-ply, because I really like to knit. And they wrote back and said, oh yeah, no worries, we'll pass that on to management as a suggestion. And I don't know how many other people have asked it. I'd assume quite a few people. And they did a limited run of just limited colours. I think they had about 6 colours or 7 colours. And I wanted to prove, I really shouldn't have. The money was meant to be going towards my editing, my editor, who I've wanted to send so I can to her. But I sort of went, they've released it. I did request it. I want to show them that there's going to be demand for this. But what I'm going to do is I've already packed it all away. Actually, if you see it's going to be the vlog that comes out after this. I actually do give you a bit of a sneak peek at the bag, and it's not all 4-ply. I got some 12-ply, which is worsted weight, and I got some 8-plies for some various design projects that I have in mind. But essentially, 1% of it was the 4-ply yarn. Excited to get going. But I'm not going to show it. I'll show it as I start using it, because I don't, as much as I love watching, I love watching people's hauls videos. I've sort of made the conscious decision to try to not show that kind of side of things. I like to be a bit more realist. Not everyone can afford it. Bendigo yarn is expensive, but it's still expensive. And I don't want to sort of people feel a bit, left out, I guess, word, by sort of showing off, yarn. I will show little things, and if I get something exciting, so that, like, you have something exciting did not pay for. The lovely Sarah of Tailor Made podcast. She's up in Queensland. Love her podcast. I love her little time. And she, a couple of months ago, she put up a podcast and she was showing off some of her naturally dyed yarn. And she asked for suggestions on naming it. Now, I popped a suggestion in. I've never won anything like that. But to be honest, I don't even know what she ended up calling it. Now, I suggested the word country because this colour just reminds me of red dirt of Australia. I have to go back and double check her podcast and find out what she actually named it. But I know that my suggestion set off a thought process for her. She came up with a name. So that was the little mini. Now, she had the mini and she had a DK skein, and I said, well, I'll take the mini with the sock yarn that she offered with it, which is a Maker Moran. It's actually 250 grams. Ooh. And these are, they've been dyed using avocado. So I think that's natural, and I think that's the avocado. And these are a sock yarn, so they're 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide, which is a version of nylon. And I'm pretty sure this is the same setup. So it is nylon and it is superwash, but you can't really when it's a prize. That would make a gorgeous shawl. That's striped with that as the border. I am going to knit through what I already have. Not getting rid of anything. Not like just handing it away. So yeah, so thank you, Sarah. It is beautiful. She sent me a beautiful little card to go with it as well, and I've put that away somewhere. When you've got cats and children, you tend to have to very quickly, otherwise they get eaten. So that's pretty much it with the news on how things are going at the moment. Knitting seems to be my knitting patterns seem to be a little bit on hold at the moment whilst I just sort of work through finish some of the bigger projects. can't do much about it. I really should write a shawl, but what do you do? So what I did want to pull out though is just to show you guys. This is a project that I started 2 years ago, year ago. I can't remember now. About this time a year ago, I think. And I mean, I'm not near the end, but I mean, I've done a decent amount of it so far, considering I don't really cross stitch. And I'm hoping that by pulling it out and showing you, I will get off my ass, finish it, because this is meant to be for Missy's room. And I got a second one that I was going to put together for Junior 1, Mark, and I haven't done either. So what I'm going to do is I try to, when I do the low content books, they take a while to upload to KDP. So what I kind of think I might do is just have this out here next to my in my drawers, and just have it on hand. Once I finish my blanket, which is what I sort of focus on doing at the moment whenever I have 5 minutes, I might work on that. So what happens is, whilst I'm uploading to KDP, I've got a little bit of downtime, so I just sort of sit here and usually just do even 4 or 5 stitches. It's amazing how quickly you can get to an end of a row when you're doing 4 or 5 stitches. But what I might do is I'm going to put that somewhere visible so that once I get the blanket finished, I can, because I want to get the 2 cross stitches done. I've got some bags that I need to finish sewing, and then that will sort of clear up the backlog of projects that I started but haven't finished, other than this. And then I've got some really beautiful fabric that I'm planning to turn into some clothes for a long time, but I just so I kind of want to just sort of slowly chip away at those back end projects and just sort of clean them up a little bit, make some space in my crafting supplies and in my head, rid of them, get them done, get them off the subconscious, and find some new. Well, I've spinning, but I'm forcing myself not to start until I get other things. So I will call that done. I hopefully will see you in another month, but it really does come down to energy, time, and how much done. But yeah, talk to you all soon. Have a great day, and we'll see what happens with this background. I write linearly. Linearly.